So I know it's kind of hard to see, but that's the 0.6 comma 4. Okay. So I have my slope. Let me get my pens. So I have my slope. So that means I have y equals 1/3 x. But I still need to get my y-intercept. So I do y equals mx plus b. This is my x. This is my y. 4 goes in for my y. 1/3 is my slope. X is 6 plus b. When you're dividing fractions, of course, and multiplying fractions, of course, you can use the fancy calculator. But I know that if I have a number on top and a number on bottom, they divide, and that's 2. So that's just quicker for me than using a calculator. So now I know my b is 2, boom, plus 2. So you've done this before. The only difference is there was a fraction. All right. This time I say the word parallel. Parallel means they never touch. Well, if they never touch, they have the same slope. So if this goes up 4, right 1, then that means this needs to go up 4, right 1. So that means I know that that has a slope of 4. The problem is it needs to go through -6, 4. So let's say that's -6, 4. That means if it was crossing the y-axis, this would have one answer and this would have another. So what's the short of that one? You take the 4 and you dump the rest. Now you do y equals mx plus b. Plug this into your x. Plug this into your m. Plug this into your y and solve from there. And now it's just like before. 28 equals b. So now I know plus 28. I went kind of fast on that, so let me check it. 4 times -6 is -24. Plus 28 is 4, so I'm good to go. I can put a box around it. Okay. Parallel. Parallel is the same slope. And then I dump it for the rest. So I use u for one thing and then dump the rest. And I don't even have to do y equals mx plus b. I like this one because it has a 0. I got my pink, I got my blue, and I am done. Okay? So be careful that it only works when there's a 0. That doesn't have a 0. All right, perpendicular. Perpendicular means it's making, some of you can see this, it's making the letter T. Okay? So if I have this being, oh, you can't see that. If I have this being one slope, I need to find this one going that way. That means if this is positive, this has to be negative. But not just negative, it has to be the opposite reciprocal, so it does a perfect 90-degree angle. So whenever I see the word perpendicular, I need to take that number 4, do the opposite, and then I have to flip it. So it's over 1, -1 over 4. Otherwise, it won't be perfectly perpendicular, okay? So I want you to see there's that. And you know what? Let me pause it real quick. I'm going to show you that on Desmos. So I want to show you, see the red graph? Y equals 4x minus 1. That's the red one going up. Then the blue one is y equals -4x plus 3. If all I did were opposite slopes, you can tell it doesn't make a T. It makes that x. But if I erase that and put in this one, I think you can agree that's what the 90-degree angle is. So this shouldn't even be in there. Do the opposite and then flip it, okay? All right, now that I showed you a visual, y equals mx plus b, this is my new slope. In other words, as soon as I saw perpendicular, I changed it. This had no purpose to me. I just used it for that 4, but then I had to change it. And now I plug this in for my y, this in for my x. I'm just doing this part quickly because I've gone over that before. I don't like fractions, but I'd much rather know how to divide them, so I don't have to use my calculator. 4 over 4 is 1. A negative and a negative make a positive. Subtract 1. 5 equals b. Y equals -1/4 x plus 5. Now, remember how I showed you on Desmos? You can use Desmos. Also, hopefully, some of you downloaded the Desmos app. If you downloaded the Desmos app, you can more easily and quickly, so you don't have to use your Chromebook, do that right there. So y equals 4x minus 1, or sorry, was the original one, right? Minus 1. So minus 1. And then I come over here, y equals -1/4 x. So y equals -1/4. Let me get out of there. X, remember I have to press the right thing. And then what was it? plus 5. And I look and it makes a t. Something else I can check is I said it goes through the point negative 4, 6. If you look right here, there's negative 4, 6 right there. Okay, that's that point right there. I can't really hover over it very well, but you know it actually is right. All right, perpendicular. So we know the perpendicular to 4 is negative 1/4. So that's the perpendicular. And I know the slope. Cool. Now do I need to do all this? No. There's my y-intercept. I can get the answer. Just like that. And remember, I can check my answers in the calculator, which is a nice thing. And by the way, I know you think, oh, I want to be able to check this on the test. I will show you eventually how to use your fancy calculator to do the exact same thing. All right, perpendicular to negative 2/3. So I start with negative 2/3. The opposite is positive, but then I flip it 3/2. That's my new slope. Y equals mx plus b. This goes in for your y and your x. This is a more complex fraction. I did tell you to just divide. However, it's a little bit different because there's a 3 on top. So 2 goes into 4 2 times. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Plus 6. 12 equals b. Y equals 3/2 x plus 12. There's my b. Oops, you can't see that. I apologize. So let me do that again. So this was plus 6 plus 6. There's my 12. And then here's my 3/2. Okay? Messy, but you get it. All right. Parallel to y equals 1. Well, it doesn't have a slope. So that means if it's parallel to negative 1, it's just going to be parallel to this one. So y equals, well, what does y equal? Oh, y equals 6. Done. Now, perpendicular means it's going to be the opposite reciprocal. So that means instead of it being like this, it's going to be vertical. So instead of it being a y equals graph, it's an x equals graph. Well, what does x equal? Negative 4. Okay. So parallel means if this is horizontal, this will be horizontal. Perpendicular means if this is horizontal, this one will be vertical. Okay. Anytime I have 2 points, I can find the slope. So let me rewrite it because I didn't leave much space. So we did this before. Plus 2 minus 1. So 2 over negative 1 is negative 2. That's my m. Now I got to do y equals mx plus b. I'll pick 4, 5. So it goes into my x and my y. So 5 equals negative 2 times 4 plus b. Plus 8 plus 8. 13 equals b. Y equals negative 2x plus 13.
Attention, all juniors and seniors.
So I did that super fast. How do I know I'm correct? If I go negative 2 times 3, I get negative 6. Negative 6 plus 13 is 7. So I know that I'm good to go. All right. I'm actually going to jump to this one because I like this one. Look at what's happening both times. What does y equal? 5. Hey, that's a pattern. It happened twice. Make that easy for yourself. Let's go over to this one. Hey, what do you know? It's a pattern. What does x equal? 4. Done. Is this a pattern? No, I don't know what the pattern is. If I knew what the pattern was, I could get the answer a lot quicker. So I have to find the pattern. Negative 1/3 is negative 1/3. That's my m. So normally I would have to do my y equals mx plus b, but there's my b right there. Y equals negative 1/3 x plus 6.